Across the canyons of ancient America stand the ruins of a world no one remembers building. Vast circular chambers carved into stone, towers that align with the sun and moon, cliffside cities hidden hundreds of feet above the valley floor, as if their builders were protecting something sacred. Who built these megastructures? And how did they do it without metal, wheels, or writing? Why were they abandoned, almost overnight? Archaeologists call them ruins. But the precision, the geometry, the cosmic alignments suggest something far greater. Tonight, we'll uncover the secrets buried in stone and ask the question history still can't answer. What knowledge did these ancient builders truly possess? Casa Grande ruins. The Great House, a 4-story earthen edifice that looks utterly unique among Southwest ruins. After so many stone and masonry sites, Kasa Grande's mud brick silhouette breaks the monotony with its raw, brown grandeur. It stands tall and boxy against the expanse of sky, its cracked clay walls glowing golden in the sunlight. Built around 700 years ago by the ancestral Sonoran desert people, often called the Hohokam, Casa Grande was one of the largest prehistoric structures in North America. Imagine the labor of stacking layer upon layer of caliche mud in this arid land, essentially creating a multi-story megastructure of adobe in a time long before modern tools. The result was a massive rectangular building, approximately 35 feet high, divided into a series of rooms and stories. Walking up to it today, you're struck by the solidity of its thick earthen walls, which have endured centuries of harsh desert climate. Yet what truly fascinates researchers is Casa Grande's mysterious purpose. The interior doesn't obviously resemble a house or a palace. Instead, evidence suggests it may have been an ancient observatory or ceremonial center. The walls of Casa Grande are precisely aligned to the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west, a clear sign of intent. High up on the eastern wall, 4 small openings near the roofline were carefully positioned to track the sun. On certain days each year, the spring and fall equinoxes, the rising sun's rays beam straight through those holes, casting spots of light deep inside the building. Likewise, a circular hole in the west wall aligns with the setting sun on summer solstice, as if the great house were a giant calendar marking the turning of seasons. These alignments are so precise that they still function today, a testament to the astronomical knowledge of its builders. One can imagine robed observers standing in the upper rooms of Casa Grande, watching for that exact moment when sunlight pierced the darkness, a signal that summer had arrived or that winter was ebbing. The structure may even track the moon's cycles. Some experts believe the positions of certain holes correspond to the 18.6-year lunar standstill, though this is still debated. In the dusty silence around the ruin, it's easy to feel the significance of this place. Casa Grande likely served as a ceremonial hub and crossroads in a larger community, perhaps a gathering place for people who lived in nearby villages and farmsteads across the valley. Its very name means big house, and early Spanish explorers who named it in 1694 were awed by its size. Today, a modern roof structure hovers over Casa Grande, protecting it from the elements, an almost spaceship-like canopy over an ancient treasure. As we stand before its weathered facade, we sense a contrast to Aztec's Great Kiva. Here, the ceremonies and observations were under open sky, within high clay walls that have watched 1,000 sunsets. It's a lone titan of mud and mind, a testament to ingenuity in a landscape of extremes. As impressive as Casa Grande is, standing exposed under the blazing sun, our next destination takes us into the shadows, into the hidden strongholds of cliffs. Navajo National Monument. Leaving the flat desert, we journey north to Navajo National Monument in Arizona, where sandstone canyon walls conceal entire villages. Here lie Betatakin and Keet Seel, 2 immense alcove dwellings that transport us to the last days of the ancestral Puebloan era. To find Betatakin, we hike through pinon and juniper, peering over the rim of a steep canyon. Suddenly, an enormous rock alcove yawns before us, a half-dome carved by nature into the cliffside, and tucked within that alcove are the honey-colored ruins of a lost city. Betatakin, meaning house built on a ledge in Navajo, is essentially a 120-room town tucked into a cliff. The sheer scale of the alcove is humbling, about 452 feet high, nearly a 40-story building, and over 370 feet across. The stone dwellings occupy only a small portion of this cave, clinging to ledges and slopes, yet they form a compact village complete with plazas, multi-story houses, storage granaries, and a single circular kiva for ceremonies. Sunlight filters in during the morning, illuminating the plastered walls in a soft glow, but by afternoon, the site lies in cool shadow. This natural rock shelter shielded the inhabitants from rain, snow, and the desert sun, creating a surprisingly comfortable microclimate. Standing across the canyon at an overlook, we can see dozens of windows and doorways peeking from the cliff. It's as if the very mountain has opened its eye to reveal an ancient secret. In its prime around the late 1200s, Betatakin housed perhaps 100 to 125 people. You can almost hear the echoes of daily life. Children laughing in the courtyard, the faint grinding of corn on stone metots, smoke from cooking fires curling up along the cavern roof. Everything needed to sustain life was hauled up or grown on the mesa above: water, food, firewood. These people chose a defensible, hidden home during a time of upheaval. Indeed, throughout the region in the late 13th century, many communities consolidated into easily protected alcove sites like this. It speaks of a need for security and unity as drought and social pressures mounted. Not far away is Keet Seel, Kawestama in Hopi, Betatakin's big brother dwelling, even larger with over 150 rooms and multiple kivas. Keet Seel lies deeper in another branch of the canyon, so remote it still can only be visited by a long hike. Together, these sites at Navajo National Monument feel like time capsules. Because of the dry climate and the protective cave overhang, many wooden beams, roof thatch, and even everyday artifacts survived here, astonishingly well preserved. Entering one of the rooms, with a ranger's guidance, you might find soot on the ceiling from ancient fires or see original juniper bark roof mats still in place. It's as if the occupants stepped out briefly and might return any moment. Of course, they never did. By around 1300, Betatakin and Keet Seel were abandoned, part of the widespread migration that ended the ancestral Puebloan chapter across the southwest. As we leave the alcove, the silence is profound. These hidden cities in the cliffs remind us of how advanced and yet how vulnerable these people were. Master builders who could organize 100-room complexes in sheer walls, yet ultimately at the mercy of nature's changes. Emerging from the canyons, we now climb to new heights, quite literally. Our next site sits atop a steep, windswept mountain spur in southwestern Colorado, where ancient astronomy and architecture spectacularly meet. Chimney Rock. This is Chimney Rock, a locale so dramatic it almost feels like a fantasy. Twin stone spires, resembling two chimneys, jut into the sky at over 7,500 feet elevation, and next to them lie the ruins of a hilltop great house built by the ancients. To get there, we wind up a narrow ridge trail with drop-offs on either side. At the summit, the panorama is breathtaking, green valleys far below, a ring of distant peaks on the horizon, and the two towering rock pillars of Chimney Rock and Companion Rock right beside us. Nestled near these pillars are the low walls of structures nearly 1,000 years old. Chimney Rock's great house was constructed around the late 1000s AD by people from Chaco Canyon, making it one of the farthest flung Chacoan outposts. Though much smaller than the great houses in Chaco, archaeologists estimate it had perhaps 30 to 40 rooms. Its placement is utterly grand. Why build way up here? The answer becomes clear when the skies perform their ancient dance. Every 18.6 years, the orbit of the moon tilts to a maximum, and during that special period, something magical happens at Chimney Rock. The full moon rises between the two stone spires on the horizon. This rare event is called the Major Lunar Standstill, essentially a lunar alignment that occurs only once in a generation. Imagine ancient people climbing this ridge in darkness, gathering in anticipation on the Great House Terrace. The moon is full but hidden, then a pale glow appears exactly between the rock pillars. At moonrise, a brilliant orb slides perfectly into the notch formed by the twin towers of stone, a celestial spectacle framed by the earthly architecture of Chimney Rock. The alignment lasts only moments, but to those watching, it must have confirmed their intimate connection with the cosmos. It's believed the entire site, the orientation of buildings and kivas, was designed to observe and commemorate this lunar standstill. And not just the moon, the pinnacles here also frame the sunrise on summer solstice and other key solar events. Chimney Rock is essentially an ancient observatory as much as a settlement. Standing among the tumbled walls, one can still sense that purpose. Here, a line of sight to the northeast marks where the sun climbs on solstice morning. There, an unobstructed gap between pillars catches the moon. The people who built this place were part of the Chacoan world, a network bound by ritual and knowledge, and they proved their skill by erecting a community in a challenging spot, likely hauling timbers and stone up sheer slopes. The very act of building up here might have been a pilgrimage of devotion. By day, the residents could survey vast lands below. By night, they communed with an unpolluted sky brimming with stars. As we depart Chimney Rock, the vision of a giant silvery moon suspended between rocks stays in our minds, a testament to the genius of aligning heaven and earth. Leaving the high pinnacle of Chimney Rock and its cosmic vistas, we next seek a quieter refuge: Gila cliff dwellings. In the mountains of New Mexico, amid ponderosa pines and clear streams, lie the Gila cliff dwellings, a cluster of cave homes that feel both humble and intimate. Smaller in scale than the grand alcoves of Betatakin or Mesa Verde, the Gila cliff dwellings nonetheless offer a special glimpse into daily life, sheltered in a wilderness sanctuary. To reach them, we follow a winding trail up Cliff Dweller Canyon, listening to the rustle of cottonwoods along the creek. Before long, 5 natural caves come into view in the cliffside, each containing stone and mud structures built by the Mogollon people in the late 1200s. These caves are not massive like Betatakin's alcove. They're cozier, each an alcove or tunnel in the soft volcanic rock, high enough to stand in and extending back dozens of feet. Inside, the ancient inhabitants crafted approximately 40 rooms throughout the 5 caves. Stepping over the threshold of Cave 3, the largest, you feel as if you're entering someone's rock-hewn home from 700 years ago. Low stone walls partition the space into rooms. Here was perhaps a family's dwelling room, over there a storage area, and in the back a dark retreat likely used for ritual or sleep. Charred soot still blackens the ceiling from long-ago fires. Niches in the plastered walls hint at where possessions might have been kept. And remarkably, many of the original wooden roof beams and supports are still lodged in place, their tree ring patterns telling archaeologists the dwellings were built in the 1270s and 1280s. Through the largest cave's arching entrance, you can look out across the canyon as the inhabitants once did, seeing the same vista of rugged ridges and sky. Unlike the busy hubs of Chaco or Mesa Verde, Gila's cliff dwellings were home to a small community. Perhaps only 10 to 15 families lived here at a time. This was a remote farming enclave. Evidence shows they grew corn, beans, and squash on the mesa tops and hunted game in the forests. One can imagine children playing at the cave mouths, watching for parents returning with baskets of wild berries or harvested agave hearts. Visiting the Gila caves, one has a sense of intimacy with the past. There are fewer barriers, and often you can walk gently into the rooms, with permission, brushing your fingers against original wood poles that some long-ago builder placed. The climate here preserved original fingerprints in the mud mortar, perhaps, or the worn path where many feet tread. Because the site is smaller and receives fewer visitors, there's a peaceful silence. It's easy to sit on a ledge as swallows dart in and out of cave openings and reflect on how people make a home in even the most tucked-away places. Gila cliff dwellings might lack the monumentality of other sites, but they offer a moment of repose in our journey, a human scale, a sense of personal connection to the individuals who lived and laughed and told stories in the firelight of these very caves. Tuzigoot. Reluctantly leaving Chaco Canyon's spiritual heart, we travel westward once more, trading the high desert for the fertile low valleys of central Arizona. Our next stop, Tuzigoot, serves as a bridge between worlds. It's not a cliff dwelling nor a great house, but a sprawling hilltop pueblo that links the cliff house culture with the open village life of the flatlands. Tuzigoot National Monument in Arizona's Verde Valley appears as a long backbone of stone ruins crowning a gentle ridge above a river. When we arrive, the sun is low, and Tuzigoot's limestone and sandstone walls catch the warm light, standing out white against the green valley below. Climbing the short trail up the hill, we soon find ourselves amid the remnants of a once bustling pueblo. Tuzigoot was built by the Sinagua people around 1,000 years ago, and at its peak, it grew to a settlement of roughly 80 to 110 rooms, many of them stacked in 2 or even 3 stories. The word Tuzigoot is Apache for crooked water, referencing the nearby Twisting Pecs Lake, water being the lifeblood that made this location ideal for farming. As we wander through the maze of rooms, some walls reconstructed to chest height for interpretive purposes, we notice the clean geometry of Tuzigoot's design. Rooms are arranged in long rows following the contour of the ridge, forming a roughly rectangular outline about 500 feet long. Unlike the organic, tucked-in feel of cliff dwellings, Tuzigoot's architecture was free to sprawl and optimize space. There are no doors in the outer walls. Just as at other pueblos, entry was likely through the roof by ladder, which also made the pueblo easier to defend. The central rooms were taller and larger, perhaps communal or ceremonial spaces, while smaller rooms on the periphery served as living quarters or storage. Standing atop the highest point, where a second-story room has been made accessible via stairs, you can survey the whole complex. One particular room has been fully restored with a roof, giving a sense of the cozy interior these structures provided. You might imagine families sleeping on mats, storing corn in sealed jars, grinding corn with handheld manos on metates set by the doorway. Tuzigoot had no kiva within it. Kivas were more typical to the north. However, it did have open courtyards and rooftop spaces where daily life and rituals unfolded under the sky. In many ways, Tuzigoot feels connected to the land around it. The marshy flats by the river where corn and beans were grown, the mesquite groves and distant mountains. The view from the pueblo is spectacular. To the east, the red rock cliffs, and to the south, the green valley stretching out. This vantage point allowed the Sinagua to watch over their territory and perhaps spot distant signaling fires from neighbors. As day turns to dusk, one can almost hear echoes of the past, children chasing each other along the pueblo's alleys, women chatting as they weave cotton textiles or shape clay pots, elders observing the sunset from the rooftop, offering a prayer to ensure tomorrow's sunrise. Tuzigoot's flowing layout and ridgetop position indeed make it a perfect transition in our journey, bridging the architectural styles from the cliff dwellings we saw to the true pueblos on open ground. It shows a community comfortable living out in the open, yet still wisely placed for defense and overview. In leaving Tuzigoot, we appreciate the diversity of ancient dwellings, how these people could adapt their homes to cliffs, canyons, or hilltops with equal skill. Salmon Ruins. Our road now turns back toward the north, drawn by the enduring influence of Chaco Canyon on outlying regions. We return to New Mexico's San Juan River Basin, where one of the most significant Chacoan outlier cities awaits. Salmon Ruins, located near the San Juan River, doesn't immediately dominate its surroundings like a cliff palace or hilltop fort, but its importance becomes clear as you walk among its tumbled walls. Around 1090 AD, a contingent of Chacoan architects and workers arrived at this spot, 45 miles north of Chaco Canyon Center, and built a great house pueblo almost as splendid as those in Chaco itself. In a sense, Salmon Ruins was a Chacoan colony, a remote branch intended to expand the reach of their culture. At its height, Salmon's Pueblo was an enormous complex, about 275 to 300 rooms, arranged in a massive block up to 3 stories tall, enclosing a central plaza. Today, much of it is reduced to outlines of foundations and lower walls, but enough stands to astonish. Strolling through the site, we pass long rows of adjoining rooms, their stone walls still 2 or 3 feet high, with doorways connecting one chamber to the next. One can trace the shape of the plaza in the middle, an open space around which the community life revolved. On one side of that plaza lie the remains of a special structure, Salmon's Great Kiva, a large ceremonial room set slightly below ground, marking the spiritual heart of the settlement. It's largely leveled now, but you can see its circular outline and imagine how it once looked, perhaps resembling Casa Rinconada, albeit smaller. Another striking feature is the Tower Kiva. Salmon Pueblo uniquely had a kiva built above ground, incorporated on an upper story like a tower. The remnants of this elevated kiva suggest it rose prominently from the pueblo's core, possibly serving as a visual beacon or elite ritual chamber. The very presence of two monumental kivas, one at ground level, one elevated, tells us salmon was meant to impress and accommodate many people in ceremony. We might picture gatherings in the plaza, with processions moving between the Great Kiva and the Tower Kiva, or signaling fires lit atop the Tower Kiva's roof at night. As the sun beats down on us, we find a bit of shade beside one of the surviving room walls. The stones here are laid in the distinctive Chacoan style, carefully shaped sandstone blocks with occasional decorative bands of darker stone, a hallmark of Chaco architects. Indeed, everything about Salmon's construction echoes Chaco Canyon's great houses, from the layout, multi-winged with a planned symmetry, to the masonry style, and even the presence of high-status items found during excavations, like cacao residue in jars, macaw feathers, and turquoise, indicating far-reaching trade. But Salmon Ruins also tells a tale of change. After only a few decades of use, the Chacoan presence waned. Around the 1120s, local indigenous groups, often called Middle San Juan people, took over the site, modifying many rooms and constructing smaller round kivas in what used to be formal rooms. Archaeologists can literally see this transition in the walls, original large rooms partitioned into smaller ones, new masonry that's cruder appearing within the old. It suggests that after the colonial phase, Salmon Pueblo became a local center for a different culture, perhaps refugees or descendants of Mesa Verde area populations. Life continued here until about 1280, when a fire swept through and the site was finally abandoned. As we explore Salmon's corridors, we can almost feel the layers of history, the ambitious beginning as a showpiece of Chacoan civilization, and the later years of adaptation and resilience by local peoples. This adds architectural depth and human drama to our journey's late stage. Salmon Ruins might not tower like Kasa Grande or glow from a cliff like Betatakin, but its significance is quietly profound. It stands as evidence that the influence of a cultural heartland, Chaco, extended its arteries far along rivers and deserts, transplanting its urban blueprint onto new soil. And yet, those transplants took on lives of their own, blending and changing with time. Walking away from Salmon Ruins, with the San Juan River flowing gently nearby, we sense the ebb and flow of history, how even great communities have their seasons of rise, florescence, and departure. The Chacoan echoes follow us yet further. We venture across the modern state line into southwestern Colorado, onto the Great Sage Plain, dotted with sagebrush and gentle knolls. Lowry Pueblo. Here, within canyons of the Ancients National Monument, lies Lowry Pueblo, another outlier great house, smaller than Salmon, but rich with its own story. Lowry Pueblo might at first seem modest, a cluster of rubble mounds and partial walls in an open field. But as we approach, its features come into focus. This compact village was founded around 1060 AD, and over the next century grew to about 40 rooms in total, with 8 kivas and 1 great kiva, essentially a microcosm of a Chacoan great house, scaled for a community of perhaps 100 people. Lowry is unique in that it has been partially preserved with protective coverings. A large metal roof structure shelters part of the site, and upon entering beneath it, we discover one of Lowry's gems, its Great Kiva. This subterranean ceremonial chamber, about 47 feet across, lies a few steps down from the surface. Its stone walls have been excavated and plastered to give an impression of how it might have looked. In fact, Lowry's Great Kiva is one of the northernmost Great Kivas ever found, a sign that the Chacoan ritual network extended clear up here into Colorado's far southwest. Peering inside, we see a circular pit with benches along the perimeter and vaults in the floor, so similar to Casa Rinconada, but on a smaller scale. Amazingly, faint traces of red, white, and yellow pigment were discovered on the interior plaster, indicating the kiva walls were once painted with murals or patterns. This has been dubbed the painted kiva, a rare find since most kiva plasters are long gone. You can imagine the vivid colors flickering in torchlight as ceremonies took place, giving life to the otherwise gray stone. Stepping back outside, we walk amid Lowry's habitation rooms. Some sections of the pueblo were once 2 stories high. One can see where wooden floor beams used to rest in sockets on the masonry. Lowry started as just a few rooms and 1 kiva, but by its zenith, around 1150, it had expanded significantly, incorporating the big kiva and dozens of additional rooms. The layout is U-shaped, opening to the south, which is characteristic of Chaco-influenced sites. On its north side, a long pueblo block formed a kind of wall, perhaps as a windbreak against the harsh winters on this exposed plain. Though much of Lowry is weathered, it's easy to reconstruct the scene in your mind. Families tending fires in small hearths within the rooms, villagers climbing ladders to roof terraces to socialize or work under the sun, ceremonies bringing everyone together in the Kiva for storytelling and dances. Lowry Pueblo was inhabited for about 165 years before the last families moved on, likely migrating south or east as climate shifts or social needs demanded. By the end of the 13th century, it too was silent, but not forgotten. In fact, Lowry was one of the first sites in this area to be protected, excavated in 1931 and made a National Historic Landmark in 1967. This ensures we can still walk its grounds and follow up visually on what Salmon Ruins introduced. The consistent Chacoan architectural hallmarks even here: T-shaped doorways and walls, a classic Chaco design, core and veneer masonry style, and of course the presence of a Great Kiva as a centerpiece. Lowry Pueblo, though smaller, stands as a tangible link connecting the broader Chaco world to the local landscape of Colorado. It's a final flourish of that grand tradition before we move to the last chapter of our odyssey. Casa Malpais. Our exploration of ancient American sites concludes with a journey to a place that feels like another world entirely. A fittingly powerful closing tone. We head southward to eastern Arizona's volcanic highlands, climbing an elevation to a rugged mesa of black basalt. Here, on a natural lava flow, the Casa Malpais ruins command the landscape. The very name Casa Malpais means House of the Badlands in Spanish, an allusion to the jagged, dark terrain of ancient lava rock on which the pueblo sits. By the time we arrive, the sun is low and storm clouds gather, casting an eerie light over the basalt boulders. The ruins emerge from this dark ground almost camouflaged, since the ancestral pueblo, Mogollon, builders here, used the local basalt stones for construction. What they built between roughly 1240 and 1350 AD was both typical and unique. A 60-room pueblo, a nearly square Great Kiva, and something unexpected beneath: a network of catacombs chiseled into the lava, used as tombs for their dead. Standing at Casa Malpais, one beholds a fortress-like pueblo, hugging the edge of a basalt cliff. Some walls still stand a few feet high, outlining rooms that were once plastered and likely 2 stories tall in places. These rooms were built in terraces down the slope, utilizing the natural steps of the lava flow. An ancient stairway carved into the basalt leads from the pueblo up onto the mesa top above, indicating the villagers had fields or resources on the high ground and a strategic lookout. Within the pueblo compound, archaeologists identified a large rectangular Great Kiva, about 50 feet on a side. Quite unusual, since most kivas are circular. This one was made of stone slabs and mud, with low bench-like ledges along the walls and a central fire pit. It may have had a flat roof supported by columns. Imagine the ceremonies held here, possibly illuminated by resinous pine torches reflecting off shiny black basalt walls. But the surprises of Casa Malpais truly lie below. In 1990, researchers rappelled into a crack in the lava near the ruins and discovered an intricate series of underground chambers and passages, true catacombs. These had been modified by the Mogollon builders, entryways sealed or narrowed, rough vaulted ceilings constructed in places, and evidence that many human burials took place here. Hundreds of skeletons were likely interred in these dark cavities beneath the village. The thought of it is astonishing. No other site north of Mexico is known to have such an elaborate subterranean burial network. One tunnel might lead to a small chamber where bones were laid to rest. Another opens into a larger cavern 20 feet high, perhaps used repeatedly for generations of the dead. The effort the Mogollon people put into modifying these lava fissures, building stone walls to section off rooms, and even constructing roofs over some open gaps, speaks to a complex spiritual practice. It suggests they revered this place as a domain of both the living and the dead, a place where the two worlds met. Above ground, not far from the Pueblo walls, we find another remarkable feature, a solar calendar in stone. On a certain petroglyph panel, carved spirals and shapes interact with sunlight at key times of year. For example, at noon on summer solstice, a dagger of sunlight reportedly pierces the heart of a spiral design, marking the year's longest day. At the equinoxes, light and shadow form different aligned patterns on these petroglyphs. Much like at Chaco's famous sun dagger site, the builders of Casa Malpais found ways to track the sun's journey using the natural rocks in their rock art. One can imagine a small crowd gathering on June 21st, watching as the sun's ray slides across the spiral, a signal to hold ceremonies or start seasonal events. In that moment, the black rocks come alive with meaning. It's as if even the sun is writing messages on the stone. Casa Malpais, being a later site, seems to gather influences from all around. A Chaco-style Great Kiva, Mesa Verde-like masonry in some rooms, and its own Mogollon heritage of lava rock construction and reverence for the underworld. This was one of the last strongholds. The Mogollon who lived here persisted into the early 15th century, before finally succumbing to the Great Drought and leaving. Perhaps the final inhabitants climbed the stone stairway one last time, leaving behind the silent Kiva and sealed catacombs, their fires extinguished. As we stand amid the basalt ruins at twilight, a cool wind whistles through the lava cracks. It's a haunting atmosphere, the dark stone, the knowledge of tombs below our feet, the dramatic sky above. Yet, it's also profoundly beautiful and fitting. Casa Malpais serves as a powerful endnote, a place where the ancient, peoples built with what the earth gave them, lava rock, aligned with the heavens, honored their dead deeply, and held out on this frontier of their world until the very end. Casa Rinconada. From the quiet, smoke-stained caves of Gila, we return to the grand scale of ceremonial architecture. Our path leads back north into the heart of New Mexico's Chaco Canyon, the center of a civilization, and specifically to an architectural masterpiece of that world, Casa Rinconada. Unlike most kivas, which are usually embedded within pueblo complexes, Casa Rinconada stands alone on a low hill, as if intentionally set apart for special significance. This Great Kiva is truly great, about 64 feet, 20 meters in diameter, making it one of the largest excavated kivas ever found in the Southwest. Approaching it, we first noticed its form as a perfect circle sunk into the earth. Today, the Kiva's stone walls have been partially reconstructed to chest height, outlining the Grand Ring. A set of stairs leads you down from the hillside into the center of the Kiva, a symbolic descent into the underworld in Pueblo belief. As you step inside, the scale of Casa Rinconada takes your breath away. The smooth sandstone wall curves around you in a near-perfect circumference. Archaeologists found that the builders aligned the structure with astonishing precision. The north and south entryways are nearly perfectly on a north-south axis, and the entire circle deviates only inches from true. Around the base of the walls runs a low inner bench, and higher up, you can see a series of openings and niches. 28 evenly spaced niches punctuate the interior, like a ring of small doors or shrines. Some have wondered if the number 28, roughly the number of days in a lunar month, is a coincidence or part of the Kiva's cosmic symbolism. The symmetry here is uncanny. Opposing niches line up with each other so precisely that imaginary lines through each pair would all meet at the exact center of the Kiva. Such geometric perfection hints at intentional design, perhaps representing the cosmos or calendar. In the center of the earthen floor, the dark outline of a filled-in fire pit is visible, flanked by two rectangular vaults, often called foot drums, thought to be used for sound resonance during ceremonies. While Casa Rinconada's roof is long gone, we know it was once covered. The evidence of 4 huge post sockets on the Kiva floor indicates pillars held up a timber roof here, just like at Aztec's Great Kiva. In fact, the sockets form a near-perfect square aligned to the cardinal directions, showing the engineer's grasp of both circular and rectilinear design harmonized. If you visit around midsummer, something magical happens at Casa Rinconada as well. Shortly after sunrise on the summer solstice, a beam of sunlight shoots through a lone window high on the northeastern wall, casting a spot of light onto one particular niche in the interior western wall. Many believe this was an intentional solstice marker, a play of light and shadow to signify the year's turning point. If true, it means that on that sacred morning, the dark Kiva interior would be pierced by a spear of sunlight, illuminating a niche that perhaps held ritual significance, maybe a placed offering or emblem. Such an event would surely have been awe-inspiring to behold, linking the architecture to the very movements of the sun. Even if the exact solstice alignment is debated by scholars, the very idea speaks to how Casa Rinconada embodies the connection between earth and sky, people and gods. Envision a communal ceremony here, rows of people seated along the benches, the smoke of sage rising through a rooftop hatchway, fervent chanting echoing in the cavernous space. Casa Rinconada could hold hundreds of participants at once. It was likely a gathering place for all the surrounding settlements to come together in unity. In our modern day, standing alone in its center, you can still clap your hands and hear the remarkable acoustics, sounds reverberating off the curved walls. This Great Kiva truly was a theater for ritual, its architecture amplifying voices and perhaps the sense of transcendence. As our eyes sweep around the perfect circle of Casa Rinconada, we feel the power of order and balance the ancient builders achieved, a silent poetry in stone, aligning human ceremony with the cardinal directions and the heavens beyond. Great Kiva. Here we find a colossal ceremonial chamber known as the Great Kiva of Aztec ruins, a massive circular room once used for sacred gatherings. Unlike any other ancestral puebloan structure, this Great Kiva has been fully reconstructed, allowing us to step inside and experience its scale. The interior is perfectly symmetrical, a sunken stone floor about 8 feet below ground level, spanning roughly 40 to 45 feet across. Around the circumference lies an outer ring of 14 small alcove rooms, like a halo encircling the central space. In the center, you can still see the remnants of a low masonry fire pit or altar where ceremonies may have focused. Rising from the Kiva floor are 4 massive pillars, multi-ton columns of masonry and wood that once supported the timber roof. Imagine the engineering prowess required to erect a roof over such a wide space. Even today, standing under the dimly lit ceiling of this Great Kiva, one feels a hush of awe. The space is cool and dark, with only shafts of sunlight from the entryway illuminating its round walls. It's easy to picture hundreds of years ago, flickering firelight dancing on plastered walls, shadows of dancers or priests casting eerie patterns during rituals. The Great Kiva at Aztec is not only architecturally impressive, it's culturally unique, believed to have hosted entire communities in ceremony, perhaps to unite people from surrounding settlements. Some even call this site a portal to the past. As you descend the stone steps into the chamber, you are literally stepping down into history. The meticulous reconstruction by archaeologist Earl Morris in 1934 means everything here, from the 4 grand pillars to the niche windows and rooftop entry, appears as it did in 1100 AD. It's the only place in the Southwest where we can stand inside a Great Kiva restored to its former glory. The effect is transporting. The harmony of design, the circular floor, the precisely spaced niches and vaults, the heavy columns grounded on the huge stone pads, all speak to a sophisticated understanding of geometry and construction. One can't help but wonder if the builders possessed knowledge now lost to time, or techniques we have yet to fully comprehend. In such a monumental Kiva, the ancestors of the Pueblo people likely performed ceremonies that bound their world together, ceremonies of cosmic importance, perhaps timed with the movement of sun or stars. Standing there, you feel a connection to those long-gone moments of communion and mystery. Taken together, these sites form a tapestry of ancient America, each thread different, yet all part of the greater weave of the ancestral Puebloan and related cultures. They remind us that long before modern memory, this land was alive with architecture and astronomy, with art and ritual, with adaptation to environments as diverse as desert flats, lush valleys, towering mesas, and volcanic badlands. Each ruin is a voice echoing from the past, some whispering secrets, others proclaiming achievements, all inviting us to listen and learn. As we conclude this journey, we carry with us a profound admiration for the people who built these places. In stone and earth, wood and pigment, they left enduring messages of community, of belief, of harmony with the cosmos. Our modern world often marvels at technological feats, yet here were primitive societies charting lunar cycles, engineering multi-story buildings of mud that stand 7 centuries on, carving whole villages into cliffs with only stone tools, and painting calendars in light and shadow. It humbles you. It inspires you. The ancient cities of the American Southwest are not lost. They are here, quietly awaiting those who seek their wisdom. As the stars appear over Casa Malpais and the day's last glow fades, one can almost sense the spirits of these sites stirring in approval. We have borne witness to their story, and in doing so, ensured that the legacy of these prehistoric megastructures lives on in our imagination and our reverence, lighting a path from the distant past to the future.